Okay, so I have a question for you. We started our last show talking about like the new sphere of social medias and things like that. And this week,
Things have changed in the
yeah,
last couple of
things have changed in the last couple of days where now Twitter is rebranding itself as X? And
Yeah.
so it's no longer Twitter, it's just X.
Yeah, and I think what I read was it's not just a rebrand, it's not just a logo and a name change. From what I read, and this was a tweet by Elon to somebody else I follow,
The world.
because this other person had talked about they put a list of companies who had rebranded in their lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And quite a few big companies like Amazon used to be called something else, some other
Right.
ridiculous name before it was Amazon, for
Right.
example. But he said this is not just a rebranding. It's like a new direction for the company, being the everything app. And I think what Elon, and I've heard about this through other podcasts that I follow, is that in China, there's an app called WhatsApp. Well, there's a WhatsApp app
Oh, yeah.
that you can get anywhere. But in
Right.
China, it's everything. It is your ticket to everything. It is how you pay your bills. It is how you buy food at the grocery store. It's the everything app. And I think that's what he wants to make with X. He wants it to be the everything app. And also, I think it's going to probably play into his newly announced AI company, which I think was X.AI or something like that, or XAI. So I think that all these things are kind of moving together, and obviously it's a big source of data capture from all of its user base. So I'm sure it does play into all that.
So, I mean, because he's got like SpaceX,
X is a cool letter.
and
it's in my last name. I mean,
whatever.
duh.
Yeah. Well, you can change. So you can change because your Twitter handle is like TRXL. You can change.
No, it's just eTroxel. I wish.
Oh,
I
that's
had
right.
just
That's right.
TRXL.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. But you could
Right.
change that X to that because. So obviously we use our DSLRs for our video, and I'm looking over at mine, like I'm looking right in the camera, and
You are.
I'm looking at the X.
Here, wait. Let me look right in the camera too, so I get the full effect.
Yes, but I'm looking at
Tell
my
me.
Fujifilm X-T3, and the X looks exactly like the new Twitter X, and I'm just wondering, like, and I was what
You can't call it the Twitter X. There is no more Twitter.
well the Twitter
I guess there
X
still are remnants.
when people change their name or they go by something else or whatever, people are going to have to get used to it. They are going to say Twitter X or
Tweet on X?
exactly. It's
Do we tweet anymore?
yeah, I mean,
or what?
What are we calling it? Are we Xing each other?
Right.
So I did see somebody who said, "Oh wait, before they update the app, let me rearrange some of the whatchamacallem, apps on his phone." And so of course he put S and then the ESPN one for E, and then he put Twitter at the end, just waiting for it to update. I'll let everybody else figure out what that
Well, I think
that will spell
even
later.
Even Elon did that with the Tesla models, right? There's the Model S, and then there's the Model 3, which was originally, I think, going to be named the Model E. You're right. Yep.
Exactly.
You're doing it on the video. Yep.
Exactly.
And then the Model X. Yes. Exactly.
Mm.
So it's all there. And
Innuendo.
with the infantile jokes that Elon does on Twitter, anyway, it falls right into place.
Yeah. Well, so there you go.
Yep.
But I'm just curious. I'm more curious about. I was watching a video from Van Neistat, and he was doing something about how
the
he was
the spirited man.
And so I was watching the Spirited Man video, and it was him kind of like basically making a steroid version of. He loves his GoPros. But he's just like, when I'm taking these like ultra slow mos and stuff like that, that they're just too wide of an angle. And so he wanted to adjust it, and he wanted to kind of fit it with a lens and stuff. And so he was like fitting it in things, and he's just like, did I just make a really expensive kind of like scabbed on version of, I can't remember which one, but he was showing a couple of different cameras, and they all had the X. But I think, and I can't remember if it was Canon I'm not sure which one, but that X looked exactly like the Twitter X. I'm looking at the logo for my X webcam, whatever it is, for to control my Fujifilm, and it is
for your app.
And it's an X because it is the X series. And if you go to Fuji and you look at the X series, it looks exactly like that. I'm just like, maybe you could have been a little bit more creative with, use X all you want to, but
X marks the spot. Well, he didn't do the logo. It was like a crowdsourced logo. There was a logo design contest, and it was like whoever comes up with the coolest logo. And so now there's a judgment call here on what is the coolest. Sure.
What's going to be funny is there might be a judgment call in front of a judge, a patent judge who, said, "Hey, you just ripped off our, but you ripped off."
It's also exactly the same as some font that anybody can get on the internet. It's like straight out of a font file.
I think somebody did say, "I'm hoping that Elon bought the subscription for that font package or something like that." And you're like, true, I guess. Yeah.
Someone didn't think too hard about that one.
No. Yeah. But it was.
I mean, I've gone through the logo design thing for myself for Troxel Podcast, and there's an X in there, and I've done it many different ways. And man, there's a lot of ways you can do an X. That's for sure.
Yeah. So it's funny, and I didn't necessarily intend to talk about this, but why not? So when I was solo, we were branding ourselves as. It was PVNR. It wasn't really solo. It was me and a couple of college roommates. And it took us almost a year to come up with and agree upon the logo, the font, the color, all of that stuff. And then I wanted to just do kind of a monogram or a logo for myself. And so I did one.
Did you say PB&R? So Topps Blue Ribbon Architects?
PV.
V. Okay.
And R.
All right.
It was the first initial of our last names.
Of course it was. Welcome.
Exactly.
Welcome to the firm.
Well, welcome to everybody else's stuff.
Turns out that's how they're all named.
I believe that the firm I work for now, ASG, is Ayers for Richard Ayers, Saint for Kelsey Saint, and Gross for Adam Gross.
There you go.
And two out of three of them are long gone, but
the formula survives. Yeah.
We did. What was interesting is I remember back when I worked for firms where it was like their full last names, and if they would retire or leave, there was X amount of time where you basically had to rebrand yourself. So we went through it. But yeah, I don't know how long you suffered or went through different logos or things like that. And I think you actually, our logo for the show, we just went through, at least for YouTube, we've sort of got a new logo-ish.
Mm-hmm, I guess. Yeah.
But for the longest time, it was the Architect's Brain.
Yeah,
pattern.
The brain logo, we call it.
Yeah.
But the reason I did I would call it a symbol for that is because we needed something that was really small and legible. And
right.
The thing, if you take our whole logo and shrink it, which is this is probably branding 101, no-go kind of a design thing. It's you have to look at your brand symbol or your logo at every scale. Right. And it has to work at every scale. And ours doesn't work at a very small scale. So we made a different version for the small. Every podcast YouTube channel. And
this is a pretty good logo. Simple, clean. If that was not there and that was not there.
People have tattoos of this. And hey, let's not mention it. Let's give people another reason
to go to the video,
to go to our YouTube channel and watch the video of this podcast rather than just to go see our logo on our YouTube channel. Now they have another reason to go.
Now you should go and check out our logo, but also go and figure out what Cormac was showing so that you can see and show us your tattoos of that particular logo.
Yeah, you'll make a friend for life right there with Cormac.
Exactly. I will say that I speaking of that particular logo that I just showed, again, go to the show to see what I'm talking about.
This logo in audio. Yeah.
Exactly. A friend of mine, before he was a friend of mine, it was our kids were in class together, and then they joined the Scouts together. And so I was walking out from a Scout event to walking past his vehicle, and I saw that logo on the back of his minivan. And
You instantly had this kinship.
oh,
Yeah.
of course, it was just if you're going to drive a minivan and you want to kind of like,
I can't even say what I want to say right now because I don't want to give anybody an idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I had that same sticker on the back of my Mercedes E320 wagon,
Your dad wagon.
my dad wagon.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm pretty sure that the sticker was on the back of the Millennium Falcon too.
Yeah, probably.
Would you agree?
I would agree.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
This
there
is
you
going
go.
to be the random show. I feel like this is.
I think it's the
we're going to
random show.
squeeze 2 episodes into this week, and because you've got a vacation planned, and I think
Annual.
it's okay to say that. But
Yeah.
we're doubling up. We're going double duty this week, and so this is probably a more random version of the show. I
As they would
feel
say
like I
in
should make a
Formula,
wine
yeah,
recommendation at this point because
as they say in Formula One, we're double stacking, where
there we
it's
go.
it's
Double stacking.
one car comes into the pits and the other one's immediately right behind it, says boom boom, and then so that's what we're doing. Which, by
That's
the
what
way,
people come to the show for. They come to the show
Exactly.
for this kind of insider Formula One information.
exactly. And this year is the upcoming, so people can date if they're into Formula One. They can date when this show is being recorded. This weekend will be the Belgian Grand Prix, and then they will be going on their summer break.
Nice.
So
They deserve it.
and they do.
They're not making enough money. They need some time off.
I mean, there's a certain level of jet setting that you need to like.
Maintain.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's get back to this Twitter logo. Sorry, man, that just slipped right out. The X logo.
Ooh,
So
see?
Elon had a company named X that was the financial company before PayPal.
Oh,
even.
okay.
And I believe it is also what he calls his child, his son. Even though it is not spelled like that, it is just the AE symbol, like you would see in aesthetics, for example,
Right.
where you would actually see the A and the E kind of what do they call that symbol? I don't even know. Please tell us.
Somebody
in the
tell
comments.
us.
Tell us.
Yes.
Tell us what that symbol's called. But I believe he calls his child X as well. For that's the easy way to say.
It's funny. It's like when parents don't want to show or talk about their kids, specifically like
Yeah.
their name or their face.
The spirited man, Van Neistat, does this
Yeah.
with his son, right?
And-
on the channel.
And so,
Calls him X.
exactly. And so, it's just like child X, baby X, come here. That's this kind of thing. And so, it makes sense. So this is the X, this is the X episode.
Speaking of children, that maybe that's what Twitter/X is for Elon now at this point.
I mean, it's
I don't know. I wonder what
for
his child's going to think
his
about that.
$40 million child.
40
billion.
billion.
I said million. I meant billion.
All right. So I have 2 AI related questions for you today.
Okay.
All right. I think this is where I would like to take this episode next. So this is getting a little bit more architectural with the topic. The first question, and I will just forewarn you, these are loaded questions. Okay. But these are things that I've been thinking
Right.
about. Yeah. He's ready. All right. So is AI going to do to architecture what HGTV did to architecture?
Wow.
Should I explain?
No, I
Don't
mean,
need me to.
no, you can go ahead and you can go and explain. I mean, because my gut feeling is yes.
Okay, so we've talked about the HGTV-ification of architecture before, where expectations have been highly modified with the general public as to the power of design, how long it takes,
Mhm.
what things aesthetically should look like, It's highly integrated into the do-it-yourself movement,
Right.
and so these TV shows are really designed to give people ideas but also improve their spaces. But the unrealistic expectation part of it is what we've really talked about before.
Yep.
We've actually called it drive-through architecture, right? And now with AI, and specifically the image generation AI
Yes.
is what I'm
Yes.
talking about.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about Mid-Journey. I'm talking about
Yep.
Stable Diffusion, things like that. And we've spoken about those on the show before. And this just kind of popped into my head this morning. It was like, oh, this is like round 2 of HGTV to
Mhm.
architecture, where it's setting
Yeah.
an expectation of what it takes to do design.
Mhm.
And I think what's really sparking this for me is that people can learn how to prompt. And you've probably seen the meme going around. You've probably sent it to me, where it's like,
Yeah.
a client can't even explain to me what they want. My job is safe.
Yeah.
Right? My
Yeah.
job is safe, because they're
Yeah.
not going to be able to explain it to a chatbot or a Mid-Journey either.
Right. Exactly.
But at the same time, like, you could probably ask, I haven't tried this, you could probably ask ChatGPT to give you prompts for Mid-Journey at this point to
Oh my
get
gosh.
something usable out of it.
Absolutely, because I just watched a video today where an artist who was doing logo design
Mhm.
had basically
For X
Cr-
/
well,
Twitter.
I think it might have been because of, or something like that, because basically
Yeah.
they had said they asked ChatGPT to provide basically a 10 bullet point thing for different company names, and gave them kind of some prompts of, sort of companies and stuff like that. And then took it
some idea.
and then
right?
took it into Mid-Journey or one of those image generators, and basically used the prompts with all of the company names to create logos. And it was pretty interesting, because I've had this conversation with my son, he was changing his major and wants to go into marketing and wants to do graphic design as well. And I'm like, well, you need to start embracing AI. He's like, can I just do it the traditional way? I'm like, well, again,
Sure.
it's like our comment that we say is AI going to replace the architect? No, it is going to replace the architect who doesn't embrace AI.
Yeah. So there are specific, like, branding and logo based AI sites out there that will give you vector graphics that you don't even have to trace. Like, if you really liked what it spit out at you, you can take it right into Illustrator and you can go crazy with it.
So what's interesting is, I don't know if you've seen this. I think it was posted on the Entree Architect Facebook page, but somebody had posted something about, it was called Architect AI. And I haven't looked into what exactly it is, but of course, nobody else who has looked into it or not looked into it is starting to run the big red flags of, oh my gosh, what is this? Is this coming for our job and stuff? And now, probably not, but I will say,
Is it the Look X? Because I put this in my newsletter. I'm going to try to get the guy, he works at Zaha's office. His name is Tim Fu.
okay.
And there is an AI specifically that has been designed as an image generator for architects. So it's been trained on architectural models.
Mhm.
And some of the examples, I think there was even a Dezeen article where he did like crumpled paper, and he said, give me a building based on Frank Gehry, based on this crumpled image.
I have
So he
seen
used the
that.
image
Yeah.
as the base image, and it gave like a beautiful basswood looking model in the style of Frank Gehry. And then he said, okay, now do it in the style of Zaha. Now do it in the style of, I don't know.
I have seen that.
And they were beautiful. They were absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at them, you're like, yeah, this is from Frank Gehry, or this is a Frank Gehry building, or this is a Zaha building. And it's just like, no, it's not. It's AI. Again, the biggest difference, and I was having this conversation of all people with my wife, because we were making these parallels between education and educational foundation and architecture. But we were talking about how you can have this kind of like idea of what you want, but without having like the foundation, in the understanding of all of the different things that are the package that goes into building it. it's never going to be a successful building. It can be a successful image. Images are evocative and people want to look at them, and we want to, it's just like, those are the things that kind of create the emotion. It's just like, yeah, that's what I want kind of thing. Well, and that's not a building. That's just an image. And so it still is going to take the architect, the person who understands all of the different nuances of everything that goes in it. We've talked about the constraints of architecture, of like everything beyond that evocative image, all of those constraints. That is still not going to be replaced. I mean, not yet, not yet.
and what I mean by this, by AI, is it the next HGTV? I really mean it in the sense of expectations.
Exactly.
And the reason I say it like that is because when you go into your spiel about what architecture really is, to realize a design, to do all that work that you just talked about, and make it so that it works with the code, and make it so that it works with the site, and get the permits, and pass through the agency, and respond to comments, and actually get it built, is going to be a huge setup of disappointment.
Oh, yeah.
For that client who thought, what do you mean? Like,
exactly.
I thought it was going to be easy.
Well,
and that's what HGTV did. And a lot of people have complained about this over the years too.
And that's the disservice that HGTV's done. That's the disservice that the photorealistic renderings have done. I mean, we've sort of done this to ourselves anyway, because we sit down and we do these photorealistic renderings that are pre-concept, maybe post-concept, but they're just in a concept phase. They haven't gone through and been vetted with, the technical staff. They haven't gone through and vetted with materials. They haven't been gone and vetted through, different manufacturers, how they go together and everything else. And so we create an image that we promise people, and they look at it and they're like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I want.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
The promise is the problem.
The promise is the problem, because
so
AI.
It's a communication issue.
Exactly. Because when people say, oh, well, I was just watching on HGTV and they came over, they just met me in a Home Depot and they said, hey, we can remake your house. And then they came over the next day and they had fully signed and sealed documents with the permit in hand. And over the weekend, we got it done. I mean, that's when I saw it. And you're just like, no, that's not how it works.
Was it Extreme Home Makeover that was like on network TV back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
With that guy, that contractor, Ty.
Ty Pennington. Yes.
Yeah, so he was a contractor for another Design on a Dime kind of show.
Oh yeah.
Before that, right? Trading Space.
He was on Trading Spaces. I mean, because guess what? He is on another show that does very much the same thing. And again, it's one of these HGTV shows. And my wife was just like, "Is it time?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's at it again with other partners in crime, basically creating the promise. Well,
I just remember watching that show because that was a show with a budget. All right. That show had a bit, like, they would do an incredible transformation. And when you saw the army of people descending on their house to do the work in an incredibly short amount of time, which was usually like a week, but it would get edited. All of this would get edited down into, was it 2 weeks?
No, I'm like air quotes a week. No, it's just like they start in shorts, they finish in cold weather gear,
sweaters,
but it was only a week.
Right. Well, and it was, but there was an army of people. It wasn't a normal job in any sense of the word. They had already got the permits. And the way they tell the story doesn't allude to any of that.
Right.
And it doesn't give the audience who's watching the show, they're none the wiser. They just have, because all of that is obscured from view.
Right.
And then that's what helps set the expectations that lead to disappointment.
And that is why I prefer to have both myself and anybody who wants to go into this venture watch This Old House, because This Old House will do an entire, because it's an entire series. One full series is one house, and that one house will literally show you from start to finish. They'll even bring in the architect. They'll talk about challenges. It's just like, and we ran into this problem, and here's how. And they're like sitting there with the contractors and the architect and the homeowner and all this other stuff. And it's just like, okay, what do you want to do? It's going to cost X amount. And so it brings a level of reality that I wish that at the very least HGTV could work with the architectural and design community and say, hey, we're going to do you a favor. We're going to drum up interest of like people coming for your services. But instead of telling them that it's going to be a weekend, that we're going to show you the reality of this and really do something, but it's not.
This just
HGTV is like I don't know, what is it? What were those reality TV shows on like MTV and stuff?
Oh yeah.
But it's sensationalism TV rather than reality TV. It isn't really reality TV because reality TV would say, hey, you know, that addition that you just put on your house in the past weekend really actually takes X amount of time to actually do it.
There were no asterisks and
No.
and it plays into the whole idea of the short attention span that everybody has, and it reinforces that short attention span, right? So someone sitting down for a whole season to watch a house remodel on This Old House doesn't work in today's model. It just doesn't work, right? So it would work for certain individuals, but for the masses, it doesn't work at all.
For people who want, so like I watch it, and I have it on because my office is me right now. And if I'm not on a Zoom call, have the TV on in the background so I can just hear and have like chatter going on.
One of those people.
You
need some noise.
I just need to know I'm not alone. I just need to know that I'm not alone. But I will usually put it on This Old House, and This Old House is something that keeps me comfortable or keeps me company, and I get to just sit there and listen to it. And you know how many things that I've actually learned, and hopefully a lot of people else have learned from that show, because that show really tells you all of the ins and outs of things. You know, when they demo something, it's just like, here are some of the things that you should look for when you're demoing things. And so it doesn't just say like these TV shows like Trading Bases and all this other stuff that you can just willy-nilly come in and start demoing stuff. It's just like, why is
take out all the walls?
Exactly.
We're going for an open concept. I love it when people use that term on TV. We're introducing the open concept.
Yes. We're gonna do an open concept with our multi-story house. We're gonna get rid of all of these walls. I'm like, oh, so you're gonna make your 2-story home a single story, because when you remove that wall, the second floor is coming down.
It'll work.
Exactly. So
at least before the TV show has been produced. After that,
okay.
Off.
So back to your original point about, is AI going to be like the next HGTV for architects? And in a way, I would say yes. Now, I want to use an example, and I know she's listening, because she always does, which is awesome, and thank you very much. But so when Midjourney first came out, she had texted me, hey, you should check this out. And I'm going to go ahead and admit to her right now, I haven't. But she used to do like these interior kind of like imagery. And it was very fantastical. It was whimsical. It was amazing. It was amazing stuff that she was generating. The more and more she's used it, and the more Midjourney has evolved. She just recently posted some things. And so I'll put the link to her Instagram. I'm not going to give her a shout out because I want to keep some anonymity for her, because I didn't ask her to, say her name on the show. So I'm not going to. I will put her Instagram in the show notes, and go and check out the evolution of the images that she's posted through Midjourney. And more recently, she's posted some interiors that she's generated through Midjourney. And they're amazing. And they literally look real. They look like things that you can do. And
yeah, totally.
And I've bookmarked of some, because I'm like, oh, this would be great if I could do this in my house. And so to me, this is a way for us to use this tool as a way to generate evocative images, emotional images to show the client. It's just like when we would bring over, like, I remember the last time I did a house, And I would bring over, they wanted to do a modern home. I brought over a handful of architect magazines and Dwells and things like that. And we sat through there and we would like flip through and we would tag them.
Used to do that.
Yeah. We would flip through, we would tag them and all this other stuff. And, and I would, rip pages out and like file them and say, ooh, I want to remember this image or that image and stuff.
Ooh.
Exactly. And so you kind of create that. And so we would say, this is what we want to show you. And we would like hold up like an open book of like Dwell or something. And it's just like, have you thought about like this idea and stuff? And so I think that it's a good way to quickly generate ideas that creates this kind of evocative, emotional kind of like attachment image that people are like, yeah, this is kind of like the spirit of this room that I want to create. And then it's up to us to actually translate that into their space and make it buildable, make it all of the constraints, the codes and all that other stuff, kind of like apply it to all of that, but still use that as, because think about it, we spend so much time going through Pinterest or all of these other things to show them these images of, this is what I would like. Tell me give me these ideas, like you were saying, is, give me the prompts of like, what you want. It's like, they don't even know what they want. So we sit there and we spend so much time kind of like distilling, kind of like pulling out of them what they want, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. Is like, what emotion do you want to feel when you go into this room? And what's amazing.
I was just going to say, like, that actually is where architects can excel. And I think that we've lost the ability to communicate, and I'm generalizing here, that the value of an architect is in the user experience.
Yes.
Yeah. And not just the encapsulation of space.
Exactly.
And so the user experience, the emotional connection, the feelings, the inspirations, on top of the utility and the functionality, where it really fits the users of the space, whether it's residential or commercial or whatever, is where the value of an architect actually lies. And if you can get them there sooner, this is a tool to do that. This is absolutely a tool to do that. I think just going back to this question of, is it going to HGTV the profession of architecture again? I also think it's going to do that, and because of the lack of communication skills that have existed so long with architects to be able to communicate. You brought up renderings earlier, photorealistic renderings. If you go too fast, too soon, you run the risk of overpromising and underdelivering.
Yes.
Mid-journey is way too fast, way too soon. So how do you adjust to communicating those design ideas as direction, as inspiration, and rather than final product? Right?
And that's where we need to increase our communication. It's just like the HGTV effect, where it's, setting the unrealistic expectations, showing them, and this is what I always complain about every time we do these photorealistic renderings, is we're setting those unrealistic expectations, just like you just said. And it's our job. It's always been our job to tamper those expectations and show them inspiration, but also show them, it's like, okay, but remember the budget. And this is like something that we can try to achieve if, money was no object. Let's bring it back in.
You shouldn't be showing that then.
Well, of course. But what I'm saying, if you think about it, like a lot of these clients, oh, can I do this? Like, yeah, how much do you have? I mean, it's just like, oh, well, I've only got this. I'm like, okay, then no, you can't do that. You could do.
Well, it's interesting for me to look at real estate, which I had done a lot of at the end of last year, and to think about, to actually see houses that were designed by architects and the amount that was being commanded by those residences versus any other kind of home,
like a builder home,
a builder home,
the quick turnover,
and a tract home. It could be a one-off. It doesn't matter. Like the ones designed by architects were substantially more, and so how much you want to spend could also be reframed as how much you want to invest, and what do you want this to be in 20 years versus now, because or in the next 2 years. Because one of the other things that we should be communicating, which makes this very different from that next car you're going to buy or that next phone you're going to buy. That it's an expensive object, but let's be real. You're going to replace it after a few years.
Right.
Right. You're not going to be doing that with, well, you might move out of your space, your house, but you're not going to throw it away. Right. And so this thing is going to last for 20 or 30 years. It's an entirely different discussion, and to frame it that way and talk about investments and talk about the value of something over time is a big deal when it comes to this. So I think all of that plays into this. How do you communicate what this really amazing tool can produce in such a short amount of time?
Right.
If you can become really good at communicating that, I think that you could probably convince people to build better things than they would initially be open to doing, because their expectations right now are, well, look what my neighbor has. Like, that's what, or look what my parents have, or it's like, it's just the things they know about. And if you can show your creativity and show what's possible, and we're not even talking about money yet, right? We're talking about space, we're talking about value, we're talking about functionality, we're talking about all these other things that are much higher level before we start honing in on that. I think you could start to make a case for real architecture.
And if there wasn't anything that you and I haven't learned from our experience in K through 12, we've created spaces, some pretty amazing K through 12 type spaces on a very limited budget, because we shuffle around like where the value is and where the value isn't, those kind of things. And so if you think about it, budget is only a barrier if that's all you're concerned about, and you're not concerned about all of the other things that you just said, the value and longevity and all of these other things, the experience. Right. So, yeah.
Well, you ready for my second question?
Yeah, I guess.
Get ready. Get ready. My second question also has to do with AI. Is AI going to replace the intern? So think about what AI can do right now, and think we've had recent episodes talking about what schools do or do not prepare people to do in the profession of architecture once they graduate. And with the lack of attention span or existing olds in the architectural profession to mentor, obvious. We talked about this quite a bit too.
Yeah.
If you can go to ChatGPT and have it summarize a meeting into meeting minutes, if you can go to this thing, Midjourney, and get imagery that is going to be the start of conversation for design, and make a 3D model from it and generate plans from it. Like, all of these things are, if not possible today, possible very soon. And I think they already are possible today.
Well, yeah.
So if you can have a computer and AI do that kind of stuff, what good is an architectural intern?
So it's interesting, because I'm of two minds of how to answer that. The architectural intern will be good for basically doing the AI side of things, because the old, as you said, won't be willing to do that, because so
once again, the intern is just a button clicker.
A button clicker. But so here's the other side. It's like, if we actually do embrace it, the olds, the mids and all of this other stuff, actually do embrace it and use AI to do some of the tasks that we would normally just go ahead and throw on an intern to do, to give them a time filler. And if we use things properly, if we do things properly, and I'm going to keep saying properly as many times as possible, but then you're
just talking about a code of honor. You're not talking about
because hopefully you see where I'm going that we should be utilizing them and actually learning how to be architects, and not just button clickers, not just emailers, not just note takers. I mean, there is something to be said about like intently listening. Really? Was that a word? No. Intently listening to a meeting and taking notes and distilling what was the important things that were said in the meetings and things like that. Because, I mean, to me, when I was doing that, I was learning about what people valued as like the points of topic for all of these different meetings, and not just, hey, let's just talk about everything. No, it was, let's talk about the specific things, the important things, the things that we need to talk about to get this project moving forward and all of that other stuff.
Make decisions.
Exactly. And so, okay, could AI generate meeting notes? And we'd even talked about that they could do those meeting notes and they could put them in the format of whatever company X. And so,
Going back to the beginning.
Exactly. And so, sure, we can have AI do things like that. I think we're missing out on an opportunity for learning, but going back to this whole thing about bringing them up to actually learn their job, because again, I don't want to do away with interns. Why? Because I want the next generation of architects to come in, basically take the position that I have now so I can move up to the next position and keep moving up and then move out. It isn't,
You were them.
It isn't, it is. Well, it isn't one of these, I just want to keep working till I retire kind of thing. There is ultimately a point in time when I'm not going to be doing this. And
yeah,
we want the next generations to be prepared to take over and to have a opportunity to foster innovation and take the profession further than we were even able to do. And so on and so forth. So is it going to do away with interns? It's only going to do away with interns if we don't know what to do with interns.
We don't.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody does.
That's why I said it.
Okay. So yeah, I think one thing worth pointing out here is that this is what interns, emerging professional, new graduates need to be concerned about. If there are firms who are savvy enough to take on this technology,
right,
they are going to be competing directly against that.
Yeah.
But I would also say that the beauty of what large language models have brought to the market is that it is building on all of the knowledge that has been captured before so that you don't have to start from zero.
Right.
And so an intern could just as easily harness that knowledge as somebody who's been in the business for 40 years. Now, they won't have all the relationships and they won't have all of the know-how of how to deliver projects and all those things. I guarantee you they can look it up though, because it has been captured before, and they can go to YouTube, which we've talked about many times, to learn how to do a lot of this stuff.
Right.
I mean, because they're not getting it from the older generations. They're just not, right? And so for the few of the older generations who are sharing that information, it's out there, and you don't have to start from nothing. And you don't necessarily have to compete against a firm that's using it if you can probably learn how to use it better than they can faster anyway. So I think for some firms, I think this is something that needs to be a conversation in the profession, because AI could be the next intern, but where do we draw the line? And not even necessarily draw the line, but where do we place our value in the next generations to do what? And we've talked about this many times on the show. If you're not modeling something that the next generation wants to take over or have that as their career model or as their people model in leadership, you will lose them anyway. So it won't even matter. Like, they're not gonna, if they look at you and they say, why would I want to be that? Then you've already lost.
Oh, come on.
And there is plenty of that in the profession of architecture as well.
That was hurtful.
Not the literal you.
Oh, okay. I mean, there's something there, but this show isn't long enough for that.
This therapy session.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I 100% agree with you there. It's at the end of the day, it's just going to be really, really interesting to just see where all of this goes, how we actually harness it, how we avoid it, all of these things. It's going to be really interesting to gauge successes and failures of firms in the profession, the person, because this isn't going away. As everyone says, the genie's already out of the bottle. And it is coming faster than we can possibly imagine. And back to your old adage of architects and their absolute just love affair with change. Oh, wait, no.
Oh, wait, it's kind of the opposite.
Just kind of the opposite. It's going to really be interesting to see how we embrace this. And if we don't, what are going to be the consequences? Or if we do, what are going to be the consequences? It literally is a double-edged sword of like what is coming. Like, people should be excited. There are so many people who are in fear of this. And I think that the people who are in fear of this, that are going to be very reluctant to embrace it, they may have a career for a little while longer. When our clients start expecting things faster and just like all of these different demands that the HGTVing of architecture has done, the same thing. I mean, because I was just talking to somebody today and they're like, well, we decided to not go after this project. And it was mostly because of the schedule. And they sent me the schedule that they had published of, this is what we want people who are pursuing this project to adhere to. And I gasped at how short of the schedule it was. And they had even asked, these clients,
HGTV.
Exactly. That was the thing. Is like, oh, well, it was like a modular delivery. And they're like, well, if it's modular, then what, there's like so many different things that are going to like cut and streamline it. And then I'm like, this is a client that doesn't know anything about modular, because yes, there are some things that modular does to help speed things up. And it's mostly in the construction side of things, unless you're buying a off the shelf modular product. But there's, so many different things. And I don't want to start talking about modular, but I mean, the thing is that they've set an unrealistic expectation of the design process. And so they've got it wrapped in their mind that things are going to be quicker. And so when clients start demanding things quicker and quicker and quicker, we're going to need to do one of two things. We're either going to say, pump the brakes. This isn't how it works. You need to slow down. This is what the process is. Educate them on the process and stuff. Or we're going to say, oh, yeah, we can do that. And then we take a bath. Then
and I think that happens a lot, right? I think
absolutely.
If you won't sign up to do it, somebody else will.
Yep.
And they might be disappointed with the actual performance there, but they also might get what they want. I mean, if somebody's willing to work or throw a ton of people at it, or throw the interns at it, or whatever to get that goal accomplished, they'll do it. They'll cut as many corners as they possibly can to make it happen.
So I said, if we had the right amount of staff and the right type of staff, then we might be able to. And then I also put through a couple of caveats. It's like, because they had like
disclaimer, caveat.
Exactly. It's just like, if we knew the program and the layout of the program from day one and it didn't change, then you could probably meet that deadline. It's like, otherwise there's so many different things. It's just like the staff needs to learn there's so many different constraints about designing around it. Modular construction does not limit you if you understand all of the constraints that are embodied in modular construction. If you understand that, you can design almost anything. Mm-hmm. And
I thought we weren't going to talk about modular.
We weren't supposed to. So I'm going to just shut up. I'm just going to shut up.
Well, the AI thing, just to get back to that comment about, AIs and interns and firms using AI versus firms that aren't, where do you draw the line, and be careful what you ask for and all these things. There's one thing that I'm noticing with what's going on in the world of AI with OpenAI and Meta, and there's several companies. There's Claude, who I think is Anthropic is the name of the company that's published another one called Claude. And if I can read the tea leaves now, it's that nobody is going to have a distinct advantage. And so right now there are companies who are charging for access, and there are other companies who are giving it away.
Okay.
And I think that is a clear sign that these tools are not going to be unattainable for most people. I think they're going to be widely available for everybody.
Right.
And so there's not going to be a barrier to entry to use the tools, right? But what that means, I think, then is that architecture firms will all be using them. They'll all be using them. And so it's not going to be like any firm will be able to put a flag in the ground and say, we're the most innovative AI using firm out there, because everybody's going to be using the same tools, just like they already do. Everybody uses Revit. Everybody uses SketchUp. Everybody uses Rhino. Everybody uses Teams or Slack or Zoom or whatever the equivalent is. And the commoditization of the tools is exactly what's happened with the commoditization of the services of architecture.
Yeah.
All the firms offer the same services. They all charge the same fees. I mean, and so in order to differentiate yourself, you could be early to any one of these things. You could have been early to the metaverse. You could have been early to AI, but that doesn't last long. Right. And so you really have to, I think, get back to what we talked about earlier, which is your client's experience.
Yeah.
Their experience during the process, their experience in the outcome of the design process with the actual building over its lifespan, not just the post-occupancy survey point in time, right? Yeah. All of those things. But I think that is, again, where architects have to get back to is you can use these tools to your advantage. Use them as any way that you possibly can to do all the things that you need to do to deliver a better, more valuable experience for your clients. These are just tools.
Yeah. I think that's the good punctuation right there.
All right. Till next time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cheers.